Welcome to the Drilling Millions podcast, presented by Sage Dental Partners.
So the end of dentistry? No, I don't think so. But today's the 2nd of December. What was really momentous about this week was yesterday, December 1st, 2022, the federal government, in particular, Justin Trudeau and the NDP party, launched what is known as the Canada Dental Benefit. Let me preface this whole couple of episodes by mentioning that I'm not a political commentator. All of these views expressed are solely my own. I don't want to get into any trouble, and of course I'm no expert in reading legislation nor reimbursements, or I'm not an insurance company. So these views are solely from my own research, my team's research, and we really just want to get the high level picture out to a lot of people that are interested. I think as some of these programs continue to roll out, we'll probably get a better idea as to what they cover and what they mean at the end of the day for the dentist, which I'm primarily focused on. So yesterday, I was browsing through Instagram and I had seen that Justin Trudeau was visiting Western Dental School, my alma mater, not the dental school, but the undergrad. And, that caught my attention. I knew that Canada Dental Benefit was coming around. I knew just in the back of my mind it was December 1st, but it didn't really hit me as real until I saw him posing with a lot of the dental students and some of the faculty there. It's pretty eye-opening when you see the Prime Minister of Canada walking through some of the halls that you walked through yourself just a few years ago. That hit home for me, and this made me realize that it's finally here. What was once a dream that people said never would come into fruition, when Jagmeet said that Jagmeet Singh, being the leader of the NDP government, saying that we wanted to socialize dental care. I've learned to socialize isn't the right word, but basically wanted to make dental care as ubiquitously available as medical care in Canada. That day was finally here, at least in part. We'll get into the specifics of it and what this actually means for dentists. But that really hit home. So what happened is I launched a story on my Instagram, Dentistry Poppy, and I had asked, would people be interested in hearing an entire episode? And I guess the way that these episodes are designed, a couple of episodes on the Canada Dental Benefit, and overwhelmingly so I got just yeses with exclamation points, DMs, people already sharing their thoughts and feelings with me in my DMs, which made me think that this is an issue that needs to be covered. And it's not an issue that's widely understood, at least not in the dental school space. And it is potentially something that will become extraordinarily important as we move forward and progress into graduating, being associates, and eventually being practice owners. With that, what is the Canada Dental Benefit? So, like I said, it launched yesterday, and really, what this benefit was a compromise between the Liberals and the NDP governments. I'm going to keep this as simple and high level as possible because that's my understanding of these sort of things. If you want a political commentary on it, I'm sure there's other podcasts on that. This is not it. Let's just distill this down into some of its high level facts. So basically, the political parties, the NDPs and the Liberals, came together and shook hands. And they said, the Democrats said, Liberals will support your minority government until 2025, when the next election rolls around. Basically, if you come to this agreement with us. So what this agreement was it basically outlined that dentistry would be covered for children, in particular children under the age of 12, over the next 3 fiscal years. This comes at a cost of about $700 million. I know to the dentist that the actual cost to government doesn't really matter, but there is a subset of people who were talking to me in my DMs about the high level costs and the spending. And I think, with CERB and all these other government initiatives rolled out by the Liberal government, this is becoming increasingly a concern. At a cost of $700 million, the Liberals and basically the NDPs teamed up and said, okay, let's cover for the next 3 years children under the age of 12 years old. Are these all children under 12 years old? No. So what's been circulating a lot in the news is, families with household incomes under $90,000 will be covered. The benefit isn't quite as straightforward as that. In fact, there is a gradient of people that will be covered. So this benefit, if you actually look into the fine print of this, and that's why I'm doing this episode, so you don't have to, but I looked into the fine print of this and my team looked into the fine print of this. What it really said was that the Interim Canada Dental Benefit provides payments up to $650 per eligible child under 12 years of age per year for 2 years. So what does that mean? That basically means up to 2 years. If you have a kid under the age of 12, the Canada Dental Benefit will cover you up to $650. Now, that's not every single family. The amount that you get is basically adjusted for your household income. So if your household income, let's say $70,000 or less, then you get the full $650, if you meet some of the other eligibility criteria, which we will get into. If your family's income basically under $80,000, between $70,000 and under $80,000, you're entitled to up to $390 from the Canada Dental Benefit per child for up to 2 years. And then that further decreases if you're between $80,000 and $90,000, or $1 shy of $90,000, you're entitled to up to $260. So this is a perfect example of media just being very clickbaity. Every single article, every single headline I read, including in the Globe and Mail, was children covered under $90,000 for dental through the Canada Dental Benefit. If you really look at it, it's really distilled down to you can recoup up to $260 per year if you make under $90,000, between $80,000 and $90,000. And again, this benefit, in their own words, can be used for any dental care provided by a regulated dental professional. So, I'm not sure how specialists are roped into this or not. But that's sort of their own verbiage. Let's talk about how this actually works out. The second part of this episode is dedicated to what this actually means for the dentists. I'm sure that's what most people are really concerned about. But, at a high level, these payments are processed by the CRA. So the guys that do your taxes. They also were the ones responsible for rolling out the CERB payments during COVID. I assume it's because these numbers are in relation to your income and based on your previous year's tax returns, which are actually part of the eligibility criteria. So you have to have filed your taxes in the previous year. That's basically where these payments come from and how they grade you based on how much you made in the previous year. So let's talk some facts. So the way that the government programs work in dentistry is very piecemeal. It's really designed so no one falls through they try to make sure nobody falls through the cracks, but in that they've created a complete mess of where people are paid, how they're paid, how they're reimbursed, how much they're reimbursed for. And it really breaks down into two levels, right? You have your provincial government, which I'm in Ontario. If you're in other provinces, that's your own provincial government, and then your federal government, and those two operate in two different ways. So, I think a lot of people think, especially in dental school, that these programs are actually new. This is the end of dentistry. Once the genie's out of the bottle, you're not closing that can of worms. But in reality, there are several programs. I've written down in front of me 8 that already exist in order to subsidize dental care in some way. So let's first talk about the Ontario government programs, the ones supplied by the Ontario government. I only did Ontario because that's where I'm from. That's where I go to dental school. That's where probably a lot of the listeners of the podcast are from. I'd encourage you to look up your own if you're in a different province in Ontario. I'm sure they all have similar programs. But the primary ones in Ontario are the OSDCP, which stands for the Ontario Seniors Dental Care Program. This is basically subsidized dental care for seniors in Ontario. The HSO, which is Healthy Smiles Ontario. This is free dental care for kids. So, there's already a program in place that overlaps. The ODSP, the Ontario Disability Support Program. This is for people with disabilities. This is, again, for adults with disabilities in particular. And then there's OW, Ontario Works. This is dental care for low-income adults. So those are the four main Ontario government programs. And if we look at the federal level, these are programs like the IFHP, the Interim Federal Health Program. This is for resettled refugees. The NIHB, these are for non-insured people, so the non-insured health benefits. This is for people who primarily belong to the First Nations. The VAC, this is Veterans Affairs, pretty self-explanatory for Canadian veterans. And then you have the CSA, lesser known, this is Correctional Services Canada. This is for federal inmates, and this is paid for by Correctional Services Canada. So let's look at some of the exclusionary criteria and some of the eligibility criteria that you need to fulfill in order to apply for the Canada Health or Dental Benefit. So first, you have to have a child, of course, under the age of 12 who does not have access to private dental care insurance. So if your child or if your patient has access to other dental insurance, they can't apply for this program. It's an exclusionary criteria. They have to have a adjusted net family income under $90,000 per year. As we discussed, that's the upper limit of it. Depending on how much they earn, that's how much they'll recoup. They have to have filed last year's tax returns. Again, the only way for the CRA or the Canada Revenue Agency to understand how much a family made, they need to see the tax returns. And if the family hasn't done that, then they're not really eligible for it. And another criteria is they need to receive the Canada Child Benefit for each eligible child. So again, they can do it, for each child, but they can't really group them together. And the final one is, the have to have or will have dental care expenses for each eligible child that has not been fully reimbursed from another federal, provincial, or territorial government program. What that means is if it's already been paid for, you can't double dip, so to speak. So it actually has to be a legitimate cost that has been incurred by that family for the dental care.